Welcome to Behind the Muscle podcast. Today's guest is an NPC bodybuilder. Today's guest is Cole Eastvold. Cole, welcome back to the podcast, my man.
Thanks for having me on again.
Yep, for sure. So all of you who are watching or listening to this episode with Cole, this is going to be kind of a recap of USA's, which Cole just competed in this last weekend. And if you kind of want to hear the normal, typical Behind the Muscle podcast episode with Cole, his whole story, all of that, you can go back to episode 109. We had a conversation back in January, and you can kind of check that out. So Cole, why don't you, I want to kind of start off with how prep went. First of all, actually, let's take a step back. You won the overall at Junior Nationals last year. And I'm assuming that then qualified you to be able to compete on the national level this year. Is that correct?
Correct. And they've changed some stuff with that, so I'm not 100% sure. Now, winning the over at Junior Nationals should qualify you for 5 years to compete at any national show. It's like USA's, North Americans, or nationals. At least that's how it was. But like I said, they've changed stuff, but I think that's where it's at.
Okay, cool. So coming out of that overall win, why don't you walk us through, because if I remember right, you kind of have that old school mindset mentality where it's like, hey, you're going to kind of not just win a local show and then jump right into a national level show. You kind of like to just, do the local, do the regional, go from there. Correct me if I'm wrong. So why don't you talk about that? And then why don't you talk about you and your coach, Matt Jansen's decision to compete this year in USA's?
Yeah. So we did the Junior Nationals, and obviously that prep went extremely well. We got the overall title. After the show, we had decided that we were going to wait a year, mainly due to just I still had improvements I could do, because we were thinking about more of being a pro bodybuilder on a pro stage rather than just going and getting the pro card and going that route. So, and honestly, I was probably a little tired. I did 2 shows already. USA's was like, I think another 5 or 6 weeks out. But anyway, so we just decided we were going to wait till the following year to do it, make some improvements, come back, and see how that went. So what was the first part of the question? I think I jumped to the Junior Nationals part.
No, you're good. Just your, you kind of, if I remember correctly, you're kind of like have that old school mindset of like, to compete local, regional, then national, and talk about why that's important to you, or what you think you can gain from that if you are a bodybuilder or an athlete.
Yeah, we're going to blame that on prep brain. Anyways, so I won at my first state show. Obviously I wanted to win an overall at a state before I actually went and did anything. Now I did go and compete at USA's right after that. But I did want to compete at juniors, but that year it wasn't going to work. So it was either I didn't compete at anything or I did USA's, and I got my butt kicked. I didn't even place. I got I think, I was 16th or 17th, but that's considered a do not place. But so after that, I went back to the drawing board, and my whole goal was I wanted to be able to win Junior Nationals to prove to myself that I belong at the USA's or the North Americans or something like that, because there's really no point of keep doing it. For one, it's expensive. And 2, just don't kid yourself. If you're not ready to be there, there's no point of going. So after I did win Junior Nationals, that's when I decided that, I'm ready to compete with the big boys and potentially go after that pro card. So now catching back up to where we were going to wait the year and come back to this year's 2000. That was always the plan, 2022 USA's. And we came a little bit short, but to be honest, man, that was one hell of a lineup, and I had a lot of fun regardless.
For sure. And we'll get into all the kind of the nitty gritty of that here in a minute. Now, why don't you talk about what were some of those like improvements coming out of Junior Nationals that you and Matt kind of wanted to make? Because I love the statement that you said, you're not necessarily chasing that pro card, but you're chasing that pro physique. I love that mindset.
Yeah.
I love that mentality. So what were some of the improvements that you wanted to bring up? What did you work on in this off season? How do you feel like from junior nationals to USAs where you got third in the super heavies, you feel like you really brought those parts up that you wanted to focus on this past off season?
Yeah, my problem's always been my backside. I have a pretty good lat spread, but my rear double is just not up to par with my other poses. I mean, that's probably my one knock. And then obviously from the front, it's the same thing. When I raise my arms up, my lats get a little bit narrow. So it's just to try to bring that out more. At least that was my main focus. Obviously, just overall, you need more size everywhere. And that goes probably for anyone. So, but I think going into the USAs, we did that. I mean, my back was severely improved. I definitely had more muscle tissue everywhere. So, I mean, there wasn't like, I don't think I have a glaring weakness. I feel like overall my physique flows pretty well from top to bottom. So it's really just at this point, like I said, I really want to improve the lat width when I raise my arms up, which is honestly, that's a little bit genetic. You see certain people, depending on how they flare and whatnot. But that is one thing I want to keep working on is that to get my rear double up to par with everything else. Because obviously that's a very crucial pose. Because a lot of times now they're tossing that in the quarter turns. They'll toss a front double and a rear double into the quarter turn. So you got to kind of wow them with those two poses in order to make it to that first call out. But yeah, I think we accomplished everything we did, except for we just didn't get the win.
Right. Okay. So I want to ask you, because, people like to hear this type of stuff. And since we're there, I'm going to ask you it. You talking about bringing out the lats, and you just mentioned it's probably more of a genetic thing. It's just like people talk about quad sweep. I'm pretty sure that's kind of a genetic thing too, but hey, we're bodybuilders. We do what we can. What specific movements did you kind of focus on to try to get those lats to pop the way that you want them to this past off season?
First of all, I did 2 back days, one full back day and then one back day with hamstrings. So I think overall the entire backside could be bigger and thicker. So I incorporated splitting quads and hams up. And then it's just when you do that, then you have to be aware of your ability to recover. So I threw like a deadlift or an RDL variation on the hamstring day, but then on the actual back day, it'd be more like heavy rows rather than a hip hinge. Just because I know for myself, if I do RDLs, deadlifts, squats, I do all that in 1 week, my hips will not last the whole prep. So that's the number one thing, is just figuring out how you can recover when you are going to increase volume on something like that. But then I personally think to get that more width is like your pullovers, and then obviously rows are going to be king, because when you're contracting back, it's just going to create that fullness there. But then it's hitting the area you need, which is kind of that, for me, I think is going to be more that lower mid lat. I don't need to be working the upper back as much. So I just made sure that I hit those first, and I worked on upper back last. So that way I was kind of giving everything I had towards it. We have some new machines. We have like that Prime Extreme Low Row, which I think was very good, just because especially when you get tired towards the end of prep, sometimes you can't do barbell rows the entire way, or it's just not as beneficial at a certain point. So we had a lot of new machines we got to play with as well. So but yeah, and so I just incorporated pullovers on both days, different variations, made sure I was hitting the proper row that I needed to, hitting that mid. And then when I was doing pull downs, I was just making sure that I was doing something that was more neutral, and that I was pulling to the sides rather than flaring out. Because I think that's going to, and then staying more up and down rather than, people pull back and they turn that into a row. So just those are kind of the things I had in my mind, and I just trying to execute those. And I would say with pull downs, I actually lighten the load quite a bit.
Cool. Awesome. Okay, so how did this prep going into USA's overall, maybe from last preps, go? Was it pretty smooth? Were there some hiccups? Why don't you just discuss that for a couple minutes?
It's pretty smooth. This is one of the weirdest preps far as I kind of lost my appetite. And I just had like some acid reflux issues. So that's the only thing I really had to battle, but I've never had to battle that before in prep. And nothing was different. I just blame old age now. So body
We're in our 30s, right? We're old, Cole.
Yeah, it's different now. 30s is different than the 20s.
It is.
But that was just kind of a curveball because I wasn't eating very much food, but yet I didn't really feel like eating. And then with the high days, when I had my high days, I struggled to get, I mean, I got it all down, of course. I'm not going to like just not do it, but it was a big discomfort trying to shovel the food down on the high days, but that actually just corrected itself. It was just a little spat there for like 3 or 4 weeks. And then, my body kind of got used to it. But I think what happened is that we were doing the low days and then we would do these astronomical high days. My body's like, cause it kind of flared up when we were getting further into depletion, and then we're throwing in the big high days and my body just did not know what to do.
Cardio, where were you at kind of at the peak with cardio this prep?
Cardio was different too. I didn't get on the step mill once. I didn't get on a treadmill once. I stayed my ass on the upright bike. It's kind of Matt's thing. I kept asking, like, should I do something different? Because that's what I was just doing the off season. He goes, it's working. He goes, don't change anything. Like, okay. So I was on the bike, but at maximum, obviously we started off as just like 20 minutes a day. And then I wasn't doing fasted cardio just because I trained so early in the morning that this prep, I decided I'd do it post-workout so I could really focus on the training. Because otherwise, I'd have to get up at like 4, do my, I was doing 50 minutes of cardio at its peak, eat a meal, and then go train. So instead, I would just get up a little bit earlier, eat my meal, go train, but then I'd have that hour after to do that cardio. And then I'd go to work because I just thought that the training is probably more important. Otherwise, you get there, you're tired, especially like a leg day or something. So that was different. I've never done that before, but same thing, like Matt just kept saying, if it's working, we'll worry about it if you start stalling. And to be honest, my body never stalled. It only ramped up. And then honestly, it got to the point where it was burning quickly.
Excellent, man. Okay, so why don't you walk us through prejudging, if I remember correctly, was on this past Friday. So why don't you walk us through just your mindset going in? Obviously, I know back in January, it's like, hey, you're going to win, you're going to get that pro card.
Oh yeah,
But your mindset going into Friday, you feel like I saw some stuff that you're posting on your Instagram. It looks like you were pretty confident, dialed in. But did your body really respond kind of during peak week Friday? Walk us through maybe prejudging, first call outs. Just talk about that a little bit, please.
You never know until you get on stage. I mean, you really don't. But I was feeling really good. I felt like at that point, my body weight was a little low, which was a little concerning for me and Matt. But we were just like, let's screw the scale. We're going off a look. Everything was looking good. I'm sure you saw some pictures from like the Dragon's Lair and posing and stuff, and everything was looking good. But the weight kept dropping. And then so I wish I would have had someone there to videotape my carb up, because no one's going to believe it. And especially because, to be honest, I mean, I'm jumping forward a little bit, but I was flat at prejudging still. But the amount of food I ate was disgusting. But you're and now we know, but you only have so much time to carb up. You don't want to spill over, and you don't want to distend the stomach, especially, sounds weird to say because I've never really thought of my stomach as a strong point, but I have a fairly good waistline, especially in that lineup. So we knew that was a strong point for me. So we just had to make sure that my waist was extremely tight because, the other two guys are a little bit bigger, but they didn't have as tight a waist as I did. So, you're trying to like weigh the cons and pros and kind of like how should you show up. But I was eating upwards of over 500 grams of rice, like 40 grams of nut butter, and like 150 grams of beef. And that was one meal. That was kind of like some of the higher ones, because obviously we ramped it up from Tuesday all the way up to Friday. But that was kind of the gist of most of my meals going into the show.
Go ahead, talk about actually getting on stage and that first prejudging on Friday. Talk about that.
Yeah. So I felt confident. Got up there. I did my free pose. Quick side story. I kind of miscalculated how much time I had up there. And they called me off before I was done. And I stayed up and I hit 2 more poses anyways. And the expedited lady over there was like screaming at me to get off the stage and stuff. But I was like, I'm not leaving here until I hit my most muscular, because it's going to solidify my first call out. So I was laughing. So I was having a good time regardless the entire time. But then, they came back out, they called everyone. I made first call outs. I was off to the side just based off of how they called people out. And then I immediately got put in right next to the first place guy. So feeling pretty confident. They posed us. Anyone was there. I mean, we were up there probably for 5 minutes. Like, it wasn't like they just ran us through once. They kept running us. I didn't even realize it until I got off stage and everyone's like, dude, they had you up there forever. And I was like, but I was just so in the zone and hitting the poses. And I'm someone who gets better as we pose. I get a pump, volumize. I can feel myself getting better as we pose. So the longer they keep us up there, the better for me. But then they kept me there. So I never got moved to the middle. So, I kind of was like, all right, first place is, I'm never one to give up. So I got off stage and I'm like, it's not over till it's over. And that's just the way it is. We'll see what happens at the night show. But, I congratulated the other 2 guys, and, you got to show good sportsmanship regardless. And yeah, so then went back to the drawing board with Matt and just discussed everything.
Okay. Now, I know your mindset is to win, but and maybe this is some thoughts that you've had, after the show last weekend, but, you said like your first USAs, it's like, I mean, you didn't even place, and then you did whatever you did. You won the overall, you took the entire year off, you come back. Like, I mean, have you had some time, or have you taken the time to think about like, man, 3rd place, at your second USAs in the super heavies, like, do you feel like there is some victory in that or not at all?
The end goal is the pro card, but if I'm being realistic, the last time I did USAs was 2016, and I got dead last in the supers. So being in the first call out and like legitimately having this pose our asses off and battling, and I did check the scorecards, of course. I wanted to just see, like, was it straight thirds? I wasn't straight thirds, so it wasn't like like you're a dead third. That's it. I got a second place call from the judges. And then they throw one, and they whatever the tops and lows. So who knows? But I feel like seeing that I'm in the mix. It's not, and I know we can be better than after seeing it. Like, there's some tweaks we could do for the peak week. So yeah, I'm happy I got 3rd, but I got off stage. I looked at Matt. I'm like, North Americans. I'm like, let's go. I'm happy that we presented something that was extremely respectable, because, honestly, if the pictures looked like crap and I got first, I'd be way more upset, because I don't want to win looking like crap. So I was happy with what we did, but I still want to win. So.
Understood. And I think something else, and I'll just throw it out there, you actually mentioned this, I think just a little bit ago, but like this class, I mean, just like this past nationals, I mean, legit, this class, I mean, super heavies, I mean, there's some real dudes that are showing up. So that's gotta
Oh
be
yeah.
encouraging that, because I think there were some down years with some of the national level shows. But man, these last couple have been very, very strong. So that's got to give you a little bit of encouragement going into North Americans. Now, I want to ask you before we speed up here, just finishing up on USA's, you got prejudging first call outs. What were some of the tweaks, if any, that you and Matt kind of made going into the night show on Saturday? I just had Austin Connolly on before you. He said you guys didn't step back on stage until, well, I guess he's a heavyweight, but he was like 7 p.m.
Yeah, I was just right after him.
Okay.
And to be honest, me and Austin, because he's coached by Matt Jansen as well, we spent the majority of the weekend together, backstage and everything. I got to oil him up, so all that stuff. But yeah, so I got off stage and flat, not horribly or whatever, but it was more exposed because the other two guys were big. I don't like, it is what it is. I was more conditioned. They were bigger, different looks completely, apples and oranges, so it's like kind of one of those things where when we saw that, we knew we had a lot of room to fill up, but it's, like I said, do we spill over or not? So I literally ate from the minute I got off stage till about 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, that 500 grams of rice, 40 grams of nut butter, like 100 grams of beef every 3 hours, just around the clock. Obviously it's not blind. Ate a meal, slept for an hour, went and posed for Matt. He told me to eat it again. And that's what we do. So people don't get that confused that we just blindly just ate like an animal. And Matt even gave me the choice. He goes, "Can your stomach handle it? Should we just do a burger and fries?" And I'm like, "No, we're gonna do this right." Like I could just go have a burger and fries. I'd probably fill up pretty good. It'd be easier to eat. But it's also, I haven't had a burger and fries in like over a year. So who knows what would happen. I wanted to show up at the night show 100% fuller in the right way, tighter, drier. Because I honestly, like I said, it's not over till it's over. And I was just really hoping for a rejudge. Thought if I came out and did my posing routine, full as a house, they might do a rejudge. They didn't. They did rejudge a couple classes, but they did have to, they had to be out of there at 9 o'clock. Like the show had to end at 9. So there was a time crunch. So I don't know if that had anything to do with it, because I felt like it was pretty close. I think his name's Stuart. The guy who got first was a clear first, in my opinion. But I think me and Brandon, I think we could have went pose for pose again and just, because I was a lot fuller. I mean, he looked like he probably tightened up a little bit too for the night show. So everyone came back better. But so that was the plan. But then after seeing that, I was up about 7 pounds from prejudging to then. And I could probably be even a little bit heavier. So that gives us fuel for North Americans. I think that's kind of what Matt was doing, is like, how far is too far? And then that way we know, because, I wasn't really probably going to get first. So it was more of a testing to see how I hold up and what we need to do for the next show.
Perfect. All right. I want to ask you this. Did you, I mean, cause I know you're on Instagram, man, you know what's going on with probably most of the competition that you're going to be competing against. Did you see Stuart coming or not?
So I'll be 100% honest. I follow everyone. I just don't look at any of their stuff going into shows. I just don't want to be swayed, because to be honest, they all look great on Instagram. Everyone looks good. Trey looked good. Stuart looked good. Brandon looked good. They all look good. No one's going to post a bad picture on Instagram. But I just don't want to be swayed to oh, he looks big, I better eat more. Or, I need to come in at my best. So if they don't see me talking or liking their stuff on Instagram, it's just because I'm just in my own headspace. I'm just I fall off the market as far as that goes. I post my shit that I need to stay active, and then I get off the damn thing because I don't want to see what other people are doing. But after prejudging whatever, or after the show, I congratulated everyone. I'm a good sport, but you don't really need to see that stuff going into a show. You don't need any doubt or messing with your formula.
Good deal. I brought that up because I had the guy that placed right behind you, Justin Abbott, on yesterday, and he told me, he saw Stuart on Instagram. He's like, he looks kind of whatever, and then he's like, but once you actually saw him in person, it's kind of a different story. I mean, is that kind of what you thought too, or?
Oh yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say I didn't see him coming. Like, as I saw his pictures, and I was like, he looked a little shorter and he looked very stocky. My confidence just came with is no one's going to outcondition me. Now, his size and the conditioning he had was a better combo. So, yeah, congrats to him. I guess, like I said, I don't underestimate anyone. But yeah, I saw him backstage. I was like, that's a big boy. That's, like I saw him, like, he's going to do well. I saw him and Brandon, and I instantly went, those are the two guys. And obviously myself, I always have myself in there, but I was like, us three, I feel like we're going to be battling it out. I'm sure other people had the same thing in their head, because those two are the biggest guys back there. But, so I'm glad I held my own. My conditioning carried me like I thought it would. Now just to come back with that conditioning, hopefully like another 10 pounds fuller.
Love it, man. Okay. So North Americans, how many weeks out are you from North Americans? And
28 days, but I'm not counting.
Okay. 28 days. Okay. Now I'm curious, because I don't know the answer to this question. So I'm going to ask you now, how do they give out pro cards at North Americans? Like, is it just the overall? Is it class winners?
Just the class. I guess, I don't know. I thought it was just the class. Like, so you win your class, you get a pro card, I think.
Okay.
Far as I know.
Okay, just kind of like USA's then.
Yeah, I think it's just like USA's.
Okay,
now you got me,
top two. Like,
now you got me wondering. No, it's not top two. It's not top two.
Okay.
But I was thinking, because at one point, I think it was just like they used to give it to like the three, like, overall. Like, you had to be in the overall, and they gave it to three people. But I think it's class.
All right, perfect. So obviously, goal going into North Americans is to at least win your class to get a pro card, correct?
I want the overall.
Okay, cool. Now, I love it, man. It's perfect. Now, you said that you guys are gonna try to be like, what, 10 pounds heavier from USA's?
Yeah, and like I'm not. That's just like a general number. Like, I can be a lot fuller. My body can handle it. But we're not going to dictate like we need to be exactly that. If my body can handle more, it'll be more. If Matt's got an eye. So, to be honest, it may be kind of a cop-out answer, but whatever the hell Matt tells me to do, I'm going to do. So we'll just see. But yeah, I think I can be quite a bit heavier.
Cool. All right. And I'm not going to ask you anything past that, because I know your mindset's just focused on North Americans next. To kind of wrap up the conversation, Cole, you mentioned before we turned on the mic here, you at Dragon's Lair. I saw there was kind of the who's who were there over USA's weekend. First time, I'm assuming you were there. How was it?
Yeah, that was my first time there, because I hadn't been out to Vegas since they had opened it otherwise. The gym itself is a little bit smaller. It's a smaller hardcore gym. It's nice, very nice. But it's just the atmosphere and the people walking around there. Obviously, it's a little bit busier than normal with the USA's going on. But I just had a blast, because we went in the posing room, got a pose, got a train, with me, Matt, Austin, and then, like I had mentioned, I stayed an extra day and kind of just went full-time bodybuilder for a day. Just got to like hang out, eat, go train with Luke and Austin from Iron Rebel, and when we got some food. I really didn't eat that much. My carb up was so heavy that I got like an ice cream cone after I got off stage, and that's all I ate the rest of the night. And the next day I had literally 4 meals, like two two kind of whatever meals and two just beef and rice meals, and I was stuffed. But I was really tired. Great weekend, but like I think between Friday through Sunday, I maybe got 10 hours of sleep.
Right.
But that's how it is every weekend with those things.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. And then you always have, after you get done competing there, I mean, at least when I've competed, there's always just kind of like that dump where it's just like, it's kind of like a stress relief.
I can't sleep.
Right. Like it's just kind of a dump and you're like, oh,
it's just an adrenaline dump. Like I was up, like I got off stage Saturday night and I was up all night. Like, I couldn't sleep. I slept 2 hours that night,
right.
So that's pretty much every show. Like it's just win or lose, type of thing. But like, it's just, you get up there, you're posing, it's just it's an adrenaline rush. So.
For sure. Now talk to us just for a minute, Cole, about what you're doing. So from USA's last weekend, has Matt given you like pulled back the reins just a little bit before you ramp it back up for
no.
North Americans, or it's right back on?
No. And that's, obviously that's probably somewhat up to me. Like Matt's not like, this. I woke up Monday at the hotel. I was like, I took my progress pictures. I took my weight, just like any other thing. I sent them a full check-in from the hotel. And I was like, let's go. There's not very many days and I need to use every day to be better. Because to be honest, like, I don't really care to go out and eat and do all that stuff. There's time for that. But I have a goal that I want to achieve, and that's way more important at this point. But another side story is I got picked up from the airport. I'm in the convenience store. For whatever reason, like I just had like I wanted an energy drink. I don't get any artificial sweeteners or any mustard. I literally been eating rice, chicken, or whatever meat and sea salt for like 2 weeks before this show. And Matt finally gets back to me, and I'm sitting in a gas station. I don't know what it was, but anyways, I had a white gummy bear rain in my hand. And I was like, oh, this is gonna be so good. And then I check my phone, WhatsApp goes off, and it's Matt. And he goes, and the first thing it says, no artificial sweeteners, blah, blah, blah. I look at the can, I'm like, put it back, grabbed a water. And I was like, oh, okay, fuck, we're done. I'll wait till after North Americans.
Yeah, for sure, man. I love it. Was there anybody kind of during the weekend at USA's that you met for the first time that was kind of cool? I mean, obviously you were around Flex Lewis and stuff like that, but any cool people you got to meet?
I've been around this stuff for a long time, but yeah, I ran into a couple people, like just more like, I talked to them on Instagram, but I've never actually like officially shook hands and like say, hey, what's up? So yeah, like I ran into Ben Chow at the Dragon's Lair. I'd never actually officially met him, but everyone's doing their own thing. So I'm doing my thing. So it's more like a handshake. Hey, what's up? Oh, it's nice to meet you. And then like I've met Flex before, but it was more like he handed me my trophy at juniors. So I got to chat with him for a bit. So that was cool. And he's super nice, dude. He like, you could tell he had to go, but he was willing to take pictures and do all the stuff and regardless. So gotta talk with him a little bit more. But at least, yeah, there's a lot of people walking around, but to be honest, like I said, I've been around this for so long. I know most people, but also Luke from Iron Rebel, he's the owner. I hadn't met him before either. So we got to hang out for the weekend. So yeah, to be honest, just with everyone there, my whole family was there. They all flew out, a bunch of friends flew out. So I had an excellent time.
Cool, man. Awesome. All right, let's I want to ask you, because I know you're a bodybuilding junkie like myself, got any predictions for Tampa Pro this weekend? Who do you got? Open men's.
Yeah, so who the front runners are? What? Akeem, Quentin, Kamal. Am I missing anyone? There's like a big name in there that I'm missing.
I don't think so. I haven't checked really the list too closely, but
yeah, I think those are like, so to be honest, like your money's got to be on Akeem, right? If he shows up in shape, but he's a wild card. Same thing with Quentin. I don't think he's really like came in peeled. but obviously he's got a beautiful physique. So I wouldn't be surprised if Kamal pulls it up. Those two guys show off. Kamal's gonna be hot. He's gonna be hard as nails. Obviously he's shorter, but he's a big dude for his size. So I think those three are gonna battle it out. It's gonna be interesting though, just because what is there already like 20 guys qualified for the Olympia? This is gonna be like one of the biggest Olympias ever.
Yeah.
Because there's still a ton of shows to go. So so I'm curious who punches the card next.
Yeah. Is there what on now talking about IFBB pros? You know, most of these shows up to this point haven't been a lot of guys, but has there been any guys that have won some of these earlier IFBB pro shows from your perspective that have kind of caught your eye, or like, man, that guy really brought it, or maybe brought something new that you haven't seen that you can think of off the top of your head?
This year?
Yeah.
I mean, I'd be respectful, but no. I mean, what trying to think, like Blessing won earlier this year. I mean, like, he looked good. He deserved, like, everyone who won deserved to win based on the people who showed up. But like, I'm just thinking in my head, like, I remember Rolly Winkler showing up to like the Arnold the one year, and you know, I don't think he even won, but like, you know, he hit that pose and I was like, what the hell is that? Like, just blown away. I haven't had anyone from any show. I would say the closest thing was Ian. His front lat spread that's been like going around. That is a gnarly shot. That was that was impressive. Plus he reminds me, you know, he's Caucasian dry, so to put it, you know, so like I can relate with that. So I like that look, that hard, grainy, dense look. So yeah, kudos to him, because so far this year, that's the gnarliest thing I've seen.
Yeah. Good deal, man. All right. Any final thoughts, any final words, man? Any shout outs? I know, why don't you talk about the new sponsor that you got?
Yeah.
I went to their website, checked out some of their stuff just because I follow you and I saw you sharing some stuff. So why don't you talk about them for a minute before we wrap up?
Yeah. I signed with Brian, the Gorilla Chemist, for his brand Chemix. I don't even know when, but it was like a couple months ago or a month ago. It hasn't been that long. But to be honest, like one of their like distribution guys that I work with, because we sell the products in my store already, kind of reached out and just like, hey, like, you got a crazy physique, blah, 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 you know, like, you know, maybe you should talk with Brian. And I was like, wait, like, I'm going to talk with, and I've talked with him on like Instagram, like, I'm going to be working with Brian, the Gorilla Count, like directly with him. Because if he would have just been like, do you want a code? Do you want to be blah, blah, blah? I'd be like, nah, man, I'm not interested. But literally a couple days later, I get a call from Brian and we have like an actual good in-depth conversation about products, about where the company's going, about his vision. And I don't know if you follow him, but he's extremely supportive. He reposts everything. He's super excited about like hardcore bodybuilding and everything. So, and he's like, he's texting me while I'm out there. He goes, what are you doing for the carb up? Or what are you doing? You know, he's legitimately like, you know, wants to know, and he enjoys this stuff. So I think it's just a really good fit far as that goes. Plus, I mean, besides that, I would never sign with a company if I thought the products were crap. And if you don't know his backstory, he pretty much is formulated for some of the most major companies, like Blackstone's original like formulations and stuff like that. And I know he worked with like Mark Lobliner and a bunch of companies. But anyway, so he's kind of like a pioneer of actually formulating newer products and coming out with stuff. So now he has the ability with his own line to do that. Like he's already on like version 3 of his pre-workout. So like he's never satisfied and is always trying to improve. So I can resonate with that. So it's been really cool. They've been very supportive. And they're a little bit smaller companies, so I feel like we can grow together. So I'll be pumping out more content for them for that. So shout out to Chemix. And then obviously the only other company I'm with right now is Iron Rebel. And same thing, they came out extremely supportive. So they've both been great for this prep.
Yeah. Before we hit record, I was like, dude, you got your Iron Rebel gear on. I've got my
Yeah.
Iron Rebel shirt on. You know, Austin, he's sponsored by Iron Rebel. He had,
Yeah.
I think, his Iron Rebel gear on. So that's a great company. Now, going back to Chemix, right? That's the name of it, Chemix?
Yep.
Okay. Now, when I went to their website, it was kind of unique because most companies start with like the protein, the pre-workout. I didn't see any protein. So what is kind of like the focus of their current supplements? Are they ever going to get the protein, or are they kind of going in a different direction to maybe catch a different market, or just to be different? Or
I think Brian's main concern is to come out with innovative like ingredients. So like his pre-workout, for example, it has the stuff in there that you need to, because obviously citrulline works, glycoside works, those things work. But like in the King of Pumps, it's the endo pump that's in there is the ingredient. Like, and he actually created that. That's his like, formulation. So, and same thing then with the pre with stems, he threw like a gram of canna in there, which like almost no one has done. But he does severe research on like a single ingredient, and then decides whether or not it's going to like work for what he's trying to do. So you'll see about every product is like 90% has like what you need, the core value, but then he's throwing in something different in there, trying to bring innovation and really trying to like step up the game for the supplement world. His sleep product is completely one of a kind. His GDAs got a lot of the same stuff. Both have it in there, but he originated the glycolog, like one of the first GDAs on the market. So I think they're eventually going to hit some of those other key points. But like right now, they have a non-stem pre-workout, a stem pre-workout, and he kind of separates like, so the pump product's just a pump product, but then he came out with a nootropic pill, mainly due to like canna, lion's mane, all that stuff tastes terrible. So he capsulated it so you can add it to either pre-workout if you want more of that nootropic feeling without destroying the flavor. Because you'll see companies toss a little bit of stuff in there, but if it's not dosed properly, we all know it doesn't work right. And if it's dosed properly, the thing's going to taste like mud. And you'll hear like videos of him saying that. So I actually really like that, because then you got a pump, you got a nootropic, he has an energy pill. Obviously you can just take the all-in-one pre-workout. It's all, it's got 350 megs of caffeine, that's kind of like your standard, pre-workout. But I prefer to have a range where like take the pump, I'll take one pill of the caffeine, which is it's not just caffeine. It's a blend of stimulants. And then like you can take the nootropic with it, and you kind of make your own like pre-workout essentially. So I think it's really neat what he's done. But yeah, I was talking with him. He's trying to figure out what's the next step. Protein's just in a terrible place right now. So if you launch protein, just expect not to make money on it.
Makes sense.
But yeah, I think I used a lot of protein, so I'm trying to push like, I think we need a protein isolate up, that tastes really good.
Amen to that, dude. All right, Cole, I think we're going to end it there, dude. I think we covered everything for USA's going into North Americans. We'll probably, I'll probably reach out to you after North Americans, kind of, whatever, win, lose, or draw, I'll reach out to you and we'll get you back on, man. I really enjoy chatting with you. You're a Midwest boy, just like myself. So it's always good to chat with good people. All right. Any final thoughts before I close this out?
Oh man, just thanks for having me on. I know I probably ramble a little bit more than most, but hopefully people get something out of it.
Always, man. And once I bring you on again, dude, we'll make sure you have some, you're off prep maybe for at least a couple weeks, man, get some food back in you and get back to normal, Cole. Right. Cause I think, January you were I guess in off season, but
yeah. Brain's a little bit dead right now post show. But
yeah, that's all good.
Yeah, Austin was probably a little bit more with it. I think he had a little bit more food than me post show.
Yeah, he was pretty, and of course he got the pro card too, so he was pretty happy go lucky. But anyways, appreciate your time, Cole. We'll catch up sometime after North Americans. All right.
Absolutely, man. Thanks.
You're welcome. All right, all of you who are tuning in to another episode of Behind the Muscle podcast. Again, thank you so much. If it wasn't for all of you, the podcast wouldn't exist. Quickly, as we wrap up this conversation with Cole today, 2 favors I would ask of all of you. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Also, share this episode with Cole on your Instagram stories. Make sure you tag Cole, tag Behind the Muscle, so that we know you listened specifically to this episode and found great value in it. And really quickly, before I say the final statement here, we are up over 900 subscribers on YouTube, which that's maybe not a lot to you guys, but to me, that's a ton, because just like a little over a year ago, I had less than 100 subscribers on YouTube. So we're pushing our way to 1,000. And again, I just want to say thank you to all of you, because you are the ones that are subscribing. You're the ones that are sharing. You guys are the ones that are supporting the podcast. So I appreciate all of you. I'm thankful for all of you. Let's get that 900 up to 1,000 as soon as possible. And then finally, I'll leave you all with this. Remember, behind the muscle, there's always a story. We'll catch you guys later.